It's 8:24. Let's go over and talk to Nick Smith, Japan strategist at CLSA in Tokyo. Morning, Nick, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
Thank you. So if we look at Japan last year, the Nikkei 225 closed at the highest end of year close since 1989, gained almost 5% last year, which did outperform Asia-Pacific stocks. As we said earlier, the MSCI Asia-Pacific Index was down about 4.1%, mainly because of China, but massively underperformed the rest of the world. The MSCI All-Country World Index rallied 16.8% in dollar terms. What do you make of the performance of Japan's stock market last year?
It is really rather extraordinary. As you say, yes, it outperformed Asia-X, but the interesting thing was we were spending a lot of the year saying, isn't Japan doing incredibly well in dealing with the virus? And it was. So the rollout of the vaccine was incredibly fast. The number of cases was negligible compared to anybody else. The deaths were tiny. And yet, while it did everything right, all the places that were doing everything wrong were doing a lot better than it. And obviously one of the things you've got to say is, yes, but it was dragged down by Asia, by association with China and the slowdown there. But also because Japan has been incredibly cautious in dealing with COVID. And while that has saved it from the deaths and so on, actually, it's probably gone over the top, and that's badly hurt consumption. So the amazing thing is that since the start of this pandemic, overall deaths in Japan are down, despite a massive pandemic, including things like influenza and so on, have fallen. And so yes, it's dealt with it well. If anything, it's done too much in shutting down, and it probably needs to take a few more risks to get the economy going this year.
Is looking at the broad indices like the topics, the Nikkei 225, is it a little bit misleading because there's been some big stocks in there, heavyweight stocks like SoftBank, which have taken big hits over the last year? Is that maybe distorting what's really happening in the Japan stock market?
Absolutely, yes. I've always said that the Nikkei is a Flintstones index in a digital world. That it's a very backward way of looking at things. Essentially, no investors are indexed against or compare themselves to the Nikkei. The broader topics is probably a more logical thing to look against, or topics 500, which did really rather better than Nikkei did. So overall, the market wasn't too bad. But I think the Prime Minister's talking about stimulating this year. He's bringing through a massive stimulus package. But the best thing that he could do for Japan and for improving the economy is just opening up from COVID lockdowns.
And if you look forward to 2022, are Japanese shares good value overall?
Japanese stocks are extremely cheap. So I think probably this is the year for Japanese stocks. The macro is good, so Japan's accelerating when the rest of the world is slowing down. Its monetary situation is good, so others are raising interest rates. Japan won't. Fiscal is great. It's got a massive package, stimulus package, the biggest ever. The fundamentals are improving, so companies are very, very cash rich, and they'll be accelerating their share buybacks, which should make it very exciting. I think the valuations are extremely undemanding. Broadly, price earnings multiples are half of what they are in the US, and foreign investors are very, very underweight indeed of the Japanese market.
And where in particular, which sectors look particularly attractive to you?
Well, it seems rather boring to say it, but I do think that we need to talk about the reopening plays, and so retail and consumption are in there. I think the high risk things for looking at are things related to tourism and ultimately air travel, which were really beaten up. So, you always start the year by looking through what's been hammered in the previous year and say, is there any chance for it? One of them is airlines, but I think another area for looking at is electric power, bearing in mind that that Japan cannot meet its COP26, its climate promises without restarting nuclear power. So no one's talking about it, but I think it's well worth looking at.
And apart from Omicron and the opening up, what other themes do you think investors should be focusing on that are going to impact Japan this year?
Well, I think probably the digital transformation theme has probably gone too far, and valuations are getting stretched there. But I do think that tech is going to continue to be an important theme for the coming year. I think those are the main areas for looking at in the coming year.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Nick. Look forward to talking with you more this year about Japan. That's Nick Smith, Japan strategist at CLSA in Tokyo.